We're missing Matt. Oh, there he is.
Don, are you in the woods?
I'm at Thuya in the fog, which is miraculous because it's clear as a bell out. Okay, so why don't we get going on this? I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I would accept a motion to move into executive session.
Martha Dudman, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Wendy Littlefield, I'll second that.
Okay, Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Oh,
We just
No.
lost Matt.
Okay, well, I vote aye.
oh,
There
here
he
he
is.
comes.
Huh. And Matt, how do you vote?
Still having trouble connecting to audio, John. I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear us, Matt?
Matt,
I don't even see him up on the screen now.
yeah, I see him.
Do you?
Yeah,
Up there he is. He's muted.
hey, Matt.
He just wrote a note that he's not getting the audio.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I see that. Maybe you should try to phone in. Try it by phone instead of a video. It might work better for him, depending on where he is.
hey, Jim.
There.
Jim, is your arm in a sling?
Is mine? No, I have a painting smock on.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering what you did to yourself again.
Nothing yet.
Don't fall off the ladder painting.
I'd be falling out of my chair. Are you guys going into executive session?
Yes,
Okay. So you will block me or,
Oh, we'll leave. But Matt's having technical issues, so we're waiting for him to get straightened out.
Is that iPhone? Is that Matt?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
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 Okay. I don't know what's going on. I could not hear a soul.
Let's go to executive session, huh?
Yeah. How do you vote, Matt?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Okay.
All right, folks,
Now-
you remember how this works. I'm gonna send you to a breakout room. You
Yep.
hold your session, it will not be recorded. And then when you're done, click the button that says leave breakout room. Don't leave the meeting, just leave the breakout room. So here we go. And the selectmen and Derlin, is there anybody else that needs to go in?
Tony,
Oh, Tony, yeah.
Tony's going in, okay.
we just click join, right?
Yeah.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Claire.
Okay. If
Yeah.
Basil's on and can hear,
Wendy, do you see a little pop-up? Looks like Wendy froze up. And she's, okay, she's. Claire, you died.
okay,
Oh, just your video did. I couldn't tell if you were still there.
okay. Well, I'm okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so Basil, I don't know if you're out there and you can hear us.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, I can. So do you have any update on the flu shots? I think Kenny Mitchell was sort of organizing something with you.
Yeah, so we're going through Bar Harbor's helping us get them because they do them over there as well. So I'm just waiting to hear back from John Lennon. Their normal source for getting them, I guess, they are having issues, so they're trying to find an alternate source. So as
Okay.
soon as I hear from them, I will let you know.
Okay.
So that's unfortunately what I know, but as soon as I know, I will let you know.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, I got that, Claire. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we all back?
I see Jeff.
I see Ellen.
Oh, hi, Ellen.
You can see me?
I see somebody's hairy forearm.
I don't think we have Wendy yet.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. So I think I need a motion to come back into session, don't I, Darrell?
Yes.
So moved.
Seconded by Wendy.
Okay, Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Martha?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And I vote aye. Okay. Minutes. I would take a motion to approve the minutes from September 21, 2020.
John,
Yes?
in front of the minutes is an email from Kathy that to correct the amount in the account balance was 21,991.52, not 15,000.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve that amendment.
Move to approve the minutes, including the amendment.
Seconded.
Okay, Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Great, thank you. Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Appointment of Joelle Nolan as warden for the November 3rd, 2020 presidential and general state referendum election.
I would move the appointment of Joelle Nolan under the terms presented with many thanks.
This is Wendy. I would second that motion.
Very good. Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Town of Mount Desert awarded the Supreme Award by Maine Municipal Association for this year's annual report. Congratulations, you guys.
That was a surprise.
Good job.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
weren't expecting that.
Nice job. Okay. Consent agenda. Thank you letters from Island Housing Trust, Mount Desert Nursing Association, WIC Nutrition Program for financial support. Update on sale of Coastal Resources of Maine.
This is Wendy. I would approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'd second that. Jeff Wood.
Okay, any further discussion? Anybody want to talk about the Coastal Resources item? Okay, Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Good.
John,
Selectmen's reports. Tony?
I thought you meant members of the board when you asked about coastal. Just one quick thing. We're down to a manageable size of people interested in buying and operating or operating the facility for a new owner. It's looking promising. Thank you.
Okay. Any selectmen's reports?
I did have a report. I received some comments earlier this week. I've sort of had an ongoing conversation with one of the business owners along Main Street, just about people entering his store not wearing masks. And it's something that's been wearing on him quite a bit. And so the other day I was in there picking up a copy of the Islander, and he said, why isn't there a sign coming into the town that says something like, "We are a mask-wearing community"? He said there's a lot of, especially in the construction trades, people coming from off island where the way their community treats things might be a little different. And they're coming on and they're claiming, well, I don't know what the rules are here. So, I don't have a mask with me, or, some sort of excuse nonetheless. And I thought, a sign coming into the village might make sense. It would be something that our business owners who are trying their best to keep everyone safe, it's something they could point to and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I guess you didn't see the sign coming to the village." I don't know if that's something that's doable, but it seemed to me like something small that was probably doable. So I told him that I would mention it at our Monday meeting. I don't know how anyone else feels about something like that.
Tony, go ahead. You're muted.
If you're gonna put up a sign, I'd suggest at the town line, not just coming into Northeast
Okay.
Harbor.
I was wondering too, and I don't know whether this is possible. One of the even it was just something temporary, even like one of the, I don't know if we can put that message or something similar on like one of the police trailers perhaps, or whether it would need to be something, I don't know that it needs to be something permanent, but I don't know if that's a possibility.
I wonder, that's a great idea, Matt, and I wonder if we could ask Jim if we could, for a few weeks at least, a couple weeks or so, to put that on there. What a great resource for them and a reason to do it.
Okay. So can we make that happen?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
We've got a department head meeting tomorrow. I'll mention it to him.
Okay, great. Do we need to have a motion to do that?
Yeah,
Not really, just make a suggestion.
Okay. Jimmy.
Well, I was just going to say, they have one outside the town of Bar Harbor as you go into Bar Harbor, not on the town line. And I think Northeast is probably your business center of Mount Desert. And the other suggestion would be ask the One Stop or whatever they call themselves to enforce it. They're one of the few businesses that seems to totally ignore it. And there's a lot of people in there all the time without masks.
Yeah, we can do enforcement stuff. We can mention that as a thing, Jim. That's not a problem.
Okay. Tony?
I probably ought to put one on the Bar Harbor Otter Creek town line too. No, I'm serious. That's the way into town.
I know, that's the back door to the town. What can I say? Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to seeing some of those signs go up.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Selectmen's reports? Oh. No unfinished business. New business. Letter dated 9/14/20 from Debbie S. D'Amboise regarding private cemeteries in Mount Desert. She asked some good questions, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a whole slew of those funky little cemeteries all over the place, and it would be nice to know what the rules and regulations are.
Derlin, well, we got the rules and regulations in our packet.
Yeah.
Derlin, who's in charge of this?
Generally, Public Works has worked
No.
on those.
Those are private. No, we have 3 or 4 of our own that we maintain. This lady's talking about privately owned that are out in the woods somewhere.
Right, but the law states that if the landowner refuses or is not interested in taking care of it, that it is the municipality's responsibility to do so.
They can if they so choose. Yep.
So maybe the town should send out a notification to these landowners telling them what the story is. That might be helpful, sort of as a first round.
How
Does
many
it
of these
count?
little cemeteries do we have? Do
Oh
we
my God,
even
there's
have
one more.
inventory of them?
There's another one that was just pointed out to me by Bob Moore not too long ago, not too far from Town Garage. I don't know if that's a private one, but it does have a veteran, I think, of the Revolutionary War or the Civil War.
Well,
Wow.
what about reaching out to the various historical societies and finding out if they want to assemble a list of where they all are, and probably wouldn't have that much trouble getting a volunteer subcommittee of sorts to,
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
Good idea. Yeah, we can do that.
Does the town know, like, who all the property owners are that have any of these
Oh,
private
probably
cemeteries?
not, Wendy, because a lot of those things over years and years, somebody would be buried there and then people would forget about it. And then maybe somebody 100 years later would discover that there was a little stone, So there's probably a whole lot of those that you would identify. It's
Okay.
just the customs were different, 100 years ago than they are now, so.
Yeah, there's that little one over on Sinclair Road.
Yeah, behind my house.
Yeah.
Well, that one actually is maintained. That's the
Yeah,
southern.
that's the Summonsby and the Knowles family.
Yeah.
And I think Bob's
They
buried.
take care of that, yeah.
And
Anybody seen the Kittredge tomb on the way out of town in Somerville?
Yes. Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of those, really.
So what's the plan? Darlene?
Well, I think the idea, let me contact the Historical Society, see if they have a list of if they know where there's a lot of these private cemeteries that may not, we may not be aware of. See if there is any such a way to gather such a thing, then we can kind of go from there once we discover what we're talking about. So.
Tony's got his hand up.
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
You might put a notice on the website that people know of any of these privately owned or neglected cemeteries to let us know.
Yep,
And
good idea.
might ask Dick Broom to interview somebody about these to get it some exposure.
Oh, that'd be neat.
And I think replying back to Debbie, the woman that wrote the letter too, and saying we're happy to look into this and educate ourselves and see what we can do.
No, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, it's an awful shame to be shooed. I mean, it's one thing to have it in disarray, but to be shooed off the property and be told that that's just not okay. So we should follow up with her and on this.
Yeah, I agree. It can be done.
Great.
Okay, good. All right. We need a motion for that, Derlin.
You could direct me that you would like me to follow up to her letter, and then, I can go from there with the specifics. Why don't you give
All
me
right.
that direction?
So
Okay.
Darlene, I think we would like you to follow up with Deborah regarding her letter and look into the Historical Society and maybe put information on the website and see if we can gather information about these cemeteries and what we can do to support their needs.
Yeah, okay, that's all good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, Fire Department's 10-year strategic plan. Mike.
Yes, John, you want me to speak on this a little bit?
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
So I guess, it's been no secret that the staffing issue for the fire department, particularly the volunteers or on-call firefighters, we call them now, have been in decline for a number of years. And so, the way you look at the age brackets in the memo I sent you, you can see that we have quite a few firefighters that are getting up there in age. And I just got a feeling probably in about 3 to 5 years, we're going to be in a situation where the staffing is going to be critical. I've already started to see a little bit of signs of that with some of the calls, particularly at nighttime when we don't have full-time staff going unanswered, which means that our on-calls or volunteer firefighters either don't want to respond to calls or some of them even actually live in other towns too as well. So I've developed a 10-year plan and a kind of a timeline to go with that to hopefully address this issue. My intent is to be proactive with this. As I said, now this is a guess. I don't know really how long or when these people are going to start aging out or retiring. But, again, I'd say probably in that 3 to 5 year range, we're probably going to lose somewhere between 3 to 6 on-call firefighters. And we're averaging picking up 1 or 2 every 2 or 3 years. So, you can do the math. We're going to be well below probably a staff of 10 on-call firefighters. So I developed this plan, to hopefully address this, to give the fire department a little direction to go into, and to put us in a position where, we won't be in a critical staffing issue within that 5 to 10 year range. I just want to make sure everybody understands it's not my intent to have this fire department go full time. We still need on-call firefighters. This plan that I proposed here and have given you guys, if we adopt this and follow through with it, we'll have, within 3 to 4 years, we'll have 2 firefighters on 24/7. And you can't still fight fires, respond to motor vehicle accidents with just 2 firefighters. We still need the on-call staff to supplement that, especially for major incidents. So I just want to be clear with that. The other thing that the board needs to understand too is that if we adopt this or approve this or follow through with this plan, hiring firefighters and providing housing for them go hand in hand. So you can't do one without the other. I plan to have some concept plans and some elevation views for new proposed fire station to you folks at your next meeting. So I wanted to get this out to you at this meeting so you had a chance to discuss it, have any questions for me tonight. So we didn't try to have to deal with both issues on the same meeting. I just want to add that I have been talking with the Northeast Harbor Ambulance Service as well, and I know the service chief, Basil, is on, so maybe he can add to this a little bit, but we've already been discussing having these 2 organizations, these 2 agencies start helping each other a little bit more, particularly probably the fire department helping the ambulance a little bit more with our full-time people. We haven't developed any plans yet or not, but I think that's probably coming down the road as well. But I'll let Basil talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, so this is what I've developed. You can see a lot of this is capital improvement projects, but there is a timeline in there for hiring firefighters, building a new station and whatnot. You'll see where I have proposed for funding to hire 1 additional for next year. And the idea is this is if the board approves this, the taxpayers approve this plan, I don't want to hit the taxpayers with hiring 3 additional firefighters in 1 year. So my thought was to spread this out over a few years, hire 1 next year. And then if we follow through with the new station, hire 2 additional to bring us up to a staffing of 24/7. 7 days a week.
I got a couple questions. The first one is a pretty easy one, but it's something I'm just curious about. One of your charts that you have there, Mike, good intent calls. What is a good intent call exactly?
Good intent calls, it's where we put everything else that we don't, it's not really an emergency, okay. But that could be somebody as simple as somebody calling up at 7 o'clock at night and said they're having problems with their smoke detector. They can't get it to shut off. Sometimes we even respond to houses that people aren't able to change their batteries. So we'll go in there and change them for them. Sometimes it may be a follow-up on a call. So it's, yeah, anything from more or less like maybe a customer service would be more appropriate.
Okay. So your intents are always good when it comes to making.
They would try to have all okay. Good intents, yes.
And the other thing is I did receive a phone call today from actually an on-call firefighter. And I just thought I'd pass this along because, I mean, I'm sure it's a question that's going to come up. They were concerned about with this, I guess the initial addition of professional firefighters and housing them, they wondered, well, why can't, is this something we can do just by placing, you know, bunk beds essentially at one of the other fire stations rather than rushing into, or what they felt was rushing into a larger build, I guess. Is that a possibility, or what, in your opinion, like what are the reasons why or why not something like that would even be possible or work?
Well, facility-wise, obviously it's possible. There's a couple things you have to keep in mind. One, Seal Harbor, Sonesville, if you turn those community rooms into bunk rooms, you're actually taking away a community room from that village. So that's something you have to be concerned about. I don't know how people in Seal Harbor, Sonesville would feel about giving up their community rooms in those areas. But I think one of the most important thing is if you look at the pie chart of where your incidents are actually, the majority of your incidents occur, it's in the village of Northeast Harbor, nearly 60% of your calls. So usually you try to put your resources, your firefighters that are responding close to where most of your calls are. So I have some concerns about putting staff in Seal Harbor and having them run the Northeast Harbor all the time.
Can I, this is Basil from the ambulance. So just to add to that, we actually staffed personnel in Seal Harbor at the beginning of the COVID outbreak, and that was where our full-time or our per diem staff, daytime staff, nighttime staff were running out of.
Right.
Our call volume is very similar to Mike's as far as where we go. Like the majority of our calls are in Northeast, and our second busiest spot is the Sonesville area. And we found that we just ended up adding more minutes to every call we went to, because I think we only went to Seal Harbor once in 3 months. So it is, unfortunately, Seal Harbor is a great station. It's just geographically in a slow part of town.
So I had a couple of questions also. Following up with you say that I mean, it says 58% of the calls are in Northeast Harbor, and then on the other chart it says activated fire alarms is 47%. When you say activated fire alarms, is that ones that are connected or automatically like calling, or those? So those are like businesses and school and stuff like that?
A majority of those are what we call monitored fire alarm systems, where they're monitored by an operator.
Okay.
They're not necessarily commercial or schools. A majority of them are actually private residential buildings.
Okay. Because it just coincided to the Northeast Harbor a lot. So I just wondered about that. And then I had a question just about what steps, if any, I mean, I don't know very much about how the volunteers are compensated for the calls and such things, or what the recruiting process is. But I wonder, as part of any long-term plan, I would hope that we were looking at how to continue to recruit new firefighters, and whether that's to increase the attractiveness somehow of it. I don't know, but I don't see that mentioned. And you alluded to the fact that regardless of what we do, we're going to need more volunteers. How are we going to go about getting more volunteers than we're currently getting?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I'll address the pay first. We have increased the pay on a regular basis over the last few years. Right now, we're paying our firefighters $14.80 an hour. We actually, anybody that is on call and responds to a call, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour and a half, they get paid 2 hours minimum. So if they do respond, they're getting a 2-hour pay. Again, that's try to incent people to at least respond to the calls. We also pay for, well, anything they do for the fire department. So if they show up for training, if they show up to do truck checks, whatever, they get compensated for that. We also have an incentive award every year, and this is based on how many years they have been with the department. And we reward them $100 a year for each year of service, and they get a check at the end of the year for that. So it's kind of an incentive to stay with the fire department for another year, stick it out. So, you know, if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 years in, you're getting a $600, $700, $800 check at the end of the year. But I've found in the past that as we started increasing pay and giving out incentives and doing this stuff, I really, to be honest with you, I think it's got to the point where money is not really an incentive too much anymore for these people to come out and join the volunteer fire department. One thing that we're struggling with right now is the people in town. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We have, you know, the training is a lot of training to do to be qualified as a firefighter. That's one strike against you, or make it, I shouldn't say strike against you, it makes it difficult for people to do this. But one of the other things we're struggling with is just the people that live in town and the type of people that are willing to volunteer for a fire department. They're having a tough time trying to find housing in town.
Yeah.
It's becoming a big issue. I mean, if you look at the chart, I don't know if anybody picked this up, but of all the 18 firefighters we are on staff, probably 10 of them belong to another fire department. And I have a number of firefighters that live out of town. We have two of our full-time used to live in town, and they just could not, they wanted to live in Mount Desert. They just couldn't find any place to live. Now they live, fortunately, they live on the island, but in other towns. So it's becoming a struggle to find the type of people that, you know, move to town that are willing to serve on the fire department, give up 200-300 hours for training, and, you know, continue this. And the other thing too I found is, and this is a trend nationwide, is more and more people that are volunteering for the fire department. Once they get into it, they're really looking to do it full time. And you know, we've trained a number of people that have moved on somewhere else, another, you know, took in a job in a full-time fire department somewhere else too. So these are all things that we've been struggling with for a number of years. And I just think it's, you know, it's just finally coming to a head.
And this is Basil again from the ambulance. I just want to concur with Mike that we're seeing the exact same issues on the ambulance side. And we've tried, you know, everything from stipends to extra money to, you know, providing free training, things like that. And really, I think we're just running into an issue now where there just really is not enough year-round folks in Mount Desert that we can tap on to fill these roles on both sides. And it really is kind of creating an issue. So we're on the ambulance side, we're actually dealing with a lot of the same issues, which has pushed us in, like, working into sharing some resources and trying to work together to try and fill some of these roles.
Mike, I noticed that it's a good plan, and I think you've outlined, you've given us a lot of background information that I thought was very helpful and really laid it out well. I'm wondering why you're waiting until 2023-24 to start discussing the feasibility of combining with some of the other fire departments on the island. We've talked about this for a number of years now, and a year ago talked with other towns at the League of Town meeting, who all expressed an interest in working together in a more formal way. I'd like to see those discussions sooner.
Those discussions are happening. I just don't think that you're going to see a Mount Desert Island Fire Department within the next 3 years. I just don't think it's going to be possible. Now, the discussions still need to be had, and we still need to talk about that. But you got to think of it too as, if that should ever materialize, if there is a regional fire department that consists of Southwest Harbor, Tremont, Bar Harbor, Mount Desert, we're still going to need fire stations placed strategically on the island to respond. And I know one of them is going to have to be Northeast Harbor, unless you expect firefighters from Bar Harbor or Southwest to respond to emergencies in Northeast. I don't think that's a good plan. You're going to have a lot of taxpayers going to want to know why it's going to take 25, 30 minutes to have an ambulance or a fire truck to show up to their house. You know, if you're expecting the other towns to come in and provide this service for you. So, you know, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. We've had these conversations before. I'll be honest with you right now, with the 4 towns that I've been meeting with, and the town manager's been involved with this, and the fire chiefs. 2 of the towns are not really warming up to this very good. So you know, if your League of Towns and your elected officials are having these conversations at that level, that message needs to get down to the town manager. If you people really want to have this happen, because sitting at the table with them, you know, I don't think it's not all warm and fuzzy right now about going down this road.
Well, actually, it does involve the town managers. That's who the League of Towns is.
Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, Derlin, I don't know if Derlin wants to chime in. I might be getting the wrong message here, but we've had a few meetings. I just actually sent out a doodle poll a few weeks ago to try to get another meeting in the first 2 weeks in October, and only 2 town managers responded to the doodle poll going. So, but it's, you know, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it's not going to take overnight either. I really would be surprised if something like that would happen in less than 8 years.
okay, well, either way, we need to have more skin in the game, which means we probably need a few more full-timers and some more facilities. But I mean, that was the issue was with the mutual aid. Was mutual aid's great, especially if you have nothing to throw into the bargain. And at that time, we really had a collection of volunteers. So I think, you know, we're slowly getting up there. But no, I like your plan, Mike. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. I think.
Tony, go ahead.
I just want to weigh in on the recruitment relative to putting a couple of bunk beds in one of the outlying stations. I think one of the key things for Basil and Mike both is that they have to convince prospective full-time people to want to come to work for the town of Mountain Desert. We need to make it very attractive for them. And I don't think bunk beds in Soamesville or Seal Harbor will fit.
What about a really nice folding cot?
There are some old ones up overhead at the Soamesville Fire Station.
Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, you know, as I hear you talking, I'm just wondering, like, I get needing a new station, but then it makes me worry that in 5 years or 3 to 5 years down the road, are you going to have enough full-time firefighters? And I'm wondering, sort of piggybacking off what Matt said, is would we be better off to maybe in the next year or so, not just throw some bunk beds, but do a small renovation that gave you 2 nice barracks or whatever you want to call them. Make sure you can actually hire 1 to 3 brand new firefighters and have enough, on-call firefighters to justify for our community building a brand new fire station. And it just makes me worry that if we're only going to hire 1 and then we're going to approve to build this new fire station, and then, in May of 2023, you're going to try to find 2 more. Now we've got a station. Are we going to be able to hire? And are you going to have enough volunteers, not volunteers, but on-call firemen and EMTs to justify having a new station? Would we be better off to make sure by renovating something temporarily, hiring these 3 new people first and then justifying? Just a thought as I hear you worry about and looking at your numbers. I mean, there's potentially in 5 years, you're not going to have enough on-call firefighters to even have come to a call.
Sure. Yeah, I can't guarantee you that we're going to have be able to hire 3 more full-time firefighters. I don't see it as an issue. We've never had any problems in the past. We hired 4 years ago, and we didn't really have any issue then finding qualified applicants. But again, no, I can't guarantee it. As far as renovating, we did look at adding on here at the Northeast Harbor Station to put in some bunk rooms and offices and stuff like that. But it was clear very quickly that, that facility would not last probably more than 10 or 15 years. And I just felt it was, you were just throwing money away, building something on. And not being able to use it for the next 20, 25, 30 years. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to spend the money and put in a couple of bunk rooms, you'd have to put in some restrooms, elevators, things like that in this building, and then turn around in 12 years have to build another one. I guess that's an option we can look at, but I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, you're just throwing money away.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, that's a great thing to think about. I mean, I'm certainly not ready to vote on anything, but this really is a clear plan and really irons things out. And Basil, thank you for, chiming in. It's nice to know that this community has, relationships that are building. And I think that's important, step one. So.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to do it. I mean, Mike's done a lot of work on this plan too. And I really think, looking over it, it's a good plan. And unfortunately, I mean, as a taxpayer myself, I mean, it costs money, and it's, we've been able to rely on volunteers, a long time, and it's been a great system. But I mean, like a lot of other volunteer organizations, just volunteerism it's very weak right now, and we're just all struggling. And I mean, I think you're going to see some big changes out of the ambulance service here, in the next few years. We're in the same process as Mike as far as trying to come up with a 5-10 year plan to see where we're going to end up. So, I mean, it's nice that this is kind of all happening at the same time. So, but yeah, I mean, the ambulance service is very supportive of this, and Mike's been great about working with us as far as being involved in the new, the station plans and making it a building that would work great for both entities and be able to house both groups. So that's been good.
Okay. Well, good. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept with thanks Mike's strategic plan? Do we need to do that?
What does that mean? I mean, does that commit us to everything, or is that just say?
No, it acknowledges that we've received and read his strategic plan, I think. Is that correct, Erlen?
Yeah, what you could do is you could say accept and acknowledge the receipt of the 10-year strategic plan, and to be, followed through as we go along, looking at parts of no action as far as implementation at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready to say we'll go through all this.
And I don't think anyone.
No, I certainly wasn't suggesting that. Okay, so I just need to know whether or not we need to make a motion to accept the strategic plan as presented. We're not going to act on it.
So this is Wendy, I would make a motion that we acknowledge that we received the plan, and with great thanks to Mike and his team for the information, and we'll continue to support what we can and move forward with what we can as well.
I would second that. Jeff would.
Okay, Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Consideration of Public Works Department Tony Smith's request for authorization to execute an agreement with Ted Berry Company LLC for the amount of $46,000 to provide sewer line cleanings, video inspections, and GPS mapping of a portion of our sanitary collection system located in Northeast Harbor as described in the memo dated September 29, 2020, included in the Select Board's meeting packet.
This is something that MMA, through the insurance side of them, is requiring through risk management that we provide a written plan to inspect and maintain our sewer system. We have miles of sewer. Northeast Harbor would be the first village we would tackle. That's where we have 2 or 3 issues. But what this includes is cleaning and videoing the sewer lines to give us basically a base map of where we stand. It would also play into what we need to do for capital improvements in the next few years as well. DEP is just a couple of steps behind MMA at requiring one of these written plans with the work and timeline outlined in it. This isn't something, this 46,000 is for this year for Northeast Harbor. Once we get through the 4 or 5 steps, we'll come back to Northeast Harbor, but it won't be this. We will be addressing issues that have occurred that we've identified in the ensuing 4 years after we do this work.
So Tony, may I ask, that partially answers my question. I just wondered about the choice of Northeast Harbor, seeing as a lot of the sewers down there is going to be brand new after this project, but you sort of answered it. We have some problems that we want to address there. So that explains why it was chosen first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had the same question for the superintendent.
Yeah.
That's what he explained to me. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is Wendy. I guess I would move that we authorize Tony to execute an agreement with Ted Berry for the $46,000 to provide sewer line cleaning as
Inspection. Yeah. They actually video, they have a camera that crawls through the sewer pipes and videos. If you're
Can
into
I get a
this,
copy of that?
yes, you can, Matt. If you're into it, it's pretty cool technology.
I would second Wendy's motion to authorize Tony to move forward with this company.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Okay. Consideration of PWD Tony Smith's request for authorization to pay for these services using funds from the wastewater capital reserve account number 40500-24501 with a current approximate balance of $314,682.05. If authorized, there will be an approximate balance of $268,682.05 remaining in this reserve account.
I move that account be the one that he uses, if that's the one he thinks should be used. Jeff Wood.
Second.
Wendy, I'll second that.
Okay, that's quite a precise figure for an approximate number.
Well, we're a little low. That's why I put approximate, because we do get the capital gains, whatnot, into our respective accounts.
Okay.
But I'll take
right.
note, John. Thank you.
Any other discussion here? Nope. Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Consideration of the purchase of approximately 1,700 tons of road salt for FY21 from Harcross at a price of $51.60 per ton delivered.
This is the same price as last year, as I mentioned in my memo. DOT negotiated on behalf of the 20 to 24 towns that participated in their gross bid last year. We've had good luck with Harcross. This is a very good price.
Move approval.
Seconded.
Martha Dudman.
Jeff.
All right, Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye.
Thank you.
Consideration of submitting a letter of support to Maine.
John?
Yes.
F, the sand.
Okay,
Please.
sorry. Consideration, what is wrong with that word? Consideration of the purchase of approximately 2,500 cubic yards of winter sand for FY21 from Harold McQuinn, Inc. at a price of $9.90 per cubic yard delivered.
Their sand has been very good. That $9.90, I believe, is 15 cents higher than last year. That's what I recommend. We asked for 3 prices. They were the only ones that bid.
Okay.
This is Wendy. I would move approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
And I vote aye. John McCauley votes aye. Okay. Consideration of submitting a letter of support to the Maine DEP for Waste Management's application for a solid waste landfill license expansion at its Crossroads facility in Norwich Walk, Maine.
This landfill is critical to our region's solid waste management plan. Once Coastal Resources gets up and running, there are residuals that they just can't use. They need to have a home. It would go to this secure landfill. By the grace of Waste Management, they agreed to allow the MRC to ship 75% of the MRC town's waste to PERC, where it's being burned to generate steam, to generate electricity. With or without the MRC, will always be, in my opinion, a need for a landfill to handle waste that just cannot be reused or recycled. So I support their application for an expansion. They've been very good to work with. They are our go-to landfill or facility if Coastal Resources have to shut down on purpose for a retrofit, or if they have to shut down due to a mechanical failure. Thank you.
Hey, John, do you want
Yes.
to go over there and I'll be open a little bit, or?
Okay. Do I have a motion?
This is Wendy. I would move that we support the letter to go to the Maine DEP for waste management application.
Martha Dudman seconds.
Good. Any further discussion? Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Accept and authorize the spending of tech and civic life grant funds in the amount of $5,000 for election expenses incurred between June 15, 2020 and December 31, 2020.
I move approval. Martha Dudman.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Great, thank you. Any other business?
John, does anyone know Debbie DeAmboise? I saw her, she didn't, I was just looking again at her letter. There's no address on this. Does anyone know where she lives? Apparently pretty marsh area, maybe?
I have an email address for her, so I can contact her and get her physical address.
Yeah, I'd like her contact information too, so I could follow up either by a phone call and then maybe a letter after the phone call.
Okay.
That's what I need. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I invited her to this meeting, but I guess maybe she couldn't make it.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with her once I get that information.
Just one more question, Derlin. The email that you forwarded us regarding the flagpole person that was a little confused by those, is that something we need to follow up on as well?
I wouldn't, I think, basically, it didn't ask for a follow-up. It was just like a stating of an opinion, so I would keep it at that.
Okay.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Could you share what that was all
Hold
about?
on a second, please. Jimmy's been waiting for quite a while here. Go ahead.
He's used to it.
Thank you, John. I have a concern on the reconstruction of Main Street. And Tony, I'm sorry I haven't contacted you. I keep forgetting, and I saw this because I usually talk quite well with Tony about things that bother me. But is there going to be any improvement in the drainage around the post office?
Hmm.
It was bad before, and it's a bigger lake now.
There's
So,
been no work, there's been no work done on that side of Main Street in this
Okay, I was
project.
just wondering, because they were doing all kinds of digging there last spring, and I didn't know, I haven't seen a drain or anything put in. I was just curious, because there is a real,
They're not done yet, Jim. They
okay,
are going, that is going to be addressed, yes, absolutely.
okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Sorry not to call you, Tony, but I kept forgetting, and as I said, I always,
I'm keeping a list, Jim, from September 10th, 2001.
Oh, that's scary. Tony, did you have something else to say?
I was just wondering what the issue was with the flags.
I can find that email and forward it to you, Tony, or one of the selectmen can forward it to if they've got it. One of the selectmen. Basically, they thought it was too many, and why were they put there, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it was sort of a thing is, why weren't we consulted? And
Well, and also the question was, if somebody decides to donate something, do they get to determine what we display? And I think it was, there was some veiled concern about the patriotism behind it, which is, an issue during this season. But the bottom line was the question about whether or not somebody that decides to donate something can dictate what is up in the town. And it wasn't a harsh letter, but it raises an interesting question.
well, basically, no, because the selectmen can say, no, we don't
Right.
want
So
those
that-
under those terms.
That was their concern.
As you know, the vote of the town meeting is to accept gifts at their discretion. So you would have the discretion of saying, well, maybe we like this, maybe we don't like that. So you do always have the option. You don't have to accept the gifts. So.
This is America, and that's an American flag out there.
Yep.
For now.
Okay,
thank you, John.
great. Any other business? Nope. Okay, time for the treasurer's warrants. Warrants to be approved and signed. Town invoice AP 2117 in the amount of $8,863.40. AP 2118 in the amount of $233,084.01.
Move approval and signature. Martha Dudman.
This is
Matt
Wendy.
Hart will second that.
Okay, Martha, how do you
Either
vote?
way.
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Town state fees and payroll benefits, AP 2115 in the amount of $3,497.81. AP 2116 in the amount of $5,224.93. Town payroll, PR 2107 in the amount of $113,504.11.
Move signature. Martha Dudman.
Jeff Wood second.
Good. Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield abstains.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Warrants to be acknowledged. School payroll number 7 in the amount of $165,578.99.
Jeff Wood moves to approve.
Martha Dudman seconds.
Great. Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield abstains.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Very good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you all. I appreciate your help.
Okay.
Second.
Okay,
Move to
Jeff.
adjourn.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.